We are back with Trey Ganem, and his wife Michelle is joining us. Before the break, we saw how Trey creates priceless works of art for families who have lost loved ones. He can also give people closure as a medium. All right, Michelle, when he first said, I think I want to create these caskets, not like a regular casket, what was your first thought?
My first reaction was, okay, weirdo, I don't think so. I was just like, it kind of scared me a little bit. Didn't know quite what he had in mind, but once he started doing it and the response of the families and how it truly helped and it started that healing process, I knew it was a wonderful thing.
So making the caskets kind of scared you, but it didn't scare you that he's paranormal?
Well,
that he's talking to dead people?
She didn't know at that time.
I didn't know. He hadn't really mentioned to me as a young child that he had it, but when he started doing the caskets, it totally opened up his gift a whole lot more. And then things started coming in and coming through, and I was like, wait a minute, I don't know about all this.
So the first paranormal experience that you can recall is around 5 years old?
I was 5, and I had been, at 5, my mom took me to a priest to try to get this thing gone, whatever.
She tried to get you exercise.
She did.
It was an exorcism.
And all the movies were out at that time, so I'm sure she was, But, it scared me. And I wish that didn't have happened because she didn't understand it. Nobody understands it. And for me to see as a young child, people were in my room, and I would see people and
just
son,
as real as life.
Yes, and no, son, that's the devil. We got to get you fixed. And so then I get scared.
Yeah, you weren't scared before when you saw those people as a young child.
Right.
So do the people come across as people who are nurturing, maybe past family members? Did you know who they were? You have any connection to them at all?
I can't remember right now. I just remember I saw people, and I'm sure that they were there because they knew that I could see. Young children and dogs always see.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So, and speaking of young children, you've made caskets for young children, as you mentioned a little bit earlier, and you say that's what kind of opened up your communication again?
Well, it's interesting. Whenever I started doing caskets, I did the 5 children that passed away in the fire, and as soon as I was done, I had decided that I was receiving a message. I needed to build an Incredible Hulk casket, So I'm like, okay, and so she's like, why? And I was like, well, I just have to, and so I built it. It sat in my living room for 3 months. And this one's like, babe, okay, I'm tired of looking at caskets. And
in the house, you put it in the shop.
The day I finish it, I stand back and I take a picture of it. And my phone rings, and it's a funeral director out of Oklahoma, and he says, my secretary saw you and said that you're the man to talk to. We need a little superhero casket for a young man that passed away. I said, yes, sir. What are you looking for? He said, Incredible Hulk. I'm like, what size? And he said, it's 4'6", which was the exact size we had. And so he said, well, can you send me a picture? I said, yeah, I just took it. So I sent it, and he's, we'll take it. We don't care what it costs, this and that. And he said, let me tell you a little story about this young kid. 3 months ago, he was diagnosed with cancer. The day I started the casket, the day I finished it, is the day he needed it. And that was the first. And so I'm like, wow, what a coincidence. And this kept happening and happening.
And then you can't dismiss it as a coincidence anymore,
right?
Right.
And so her turning point was, we're driving in my truck, and I look over at her and I say, we're going to be doing a casket. It's going to be Mario Brothers. It's going to be blue. And I say a little kid's name, and she's like, what? And, what are you talking about? And I'm like, I don't know. And my phone rings, and I answer it. Funeral director asking for that exact casket. I said, can you tell my wife? And because I hand her the phone, and she's like, well, you tell him.
Then I was like, okay, babe, like, what's going on? Like, he's like, I don't know, just something tells me that I have to do this. I said, who's telling you? Who?
What's their name and number, where they live?
So, but if things didn't come to pass, I'd be questioning, but I just see it happen over and over, and everything, pieces fall into place, and it's amazing.
Yeah. All right. There's another story about a necklace.
Well, there is. And this was when I was doing caskets after I started, I was woke up by a gentleman in my bathroom, and he's telling me about this necklace, and I'm like, so I tell her, I was like, babe, there's a guy in the bathroom. She's pulling the sheet up.
Like, what all can they see? Like, wait a minute.
And so he's telling me this, and I'm like, okay, well, I don't know who you are, so have your people call me. Basically, that's kind of the way it was.
From the other side.
And the next day I get a phone call from his brother, and it was Trey Walker from the Baltimore Ravens, football player that had passed away. And so I was talking to his brother, and he said, ask him about my necklace. And I'm going, what's going on with the necklace? He goes, how do you know about the necklace? I was like, well, Trey was here last night. And he's like, what? And we actually delivered the casket to Florida. We drove it there ourselves and attended the service. So we went to the site, and I told her who had it, what described her to a T, and went there, and we were sitting. I said, so who was the white lady that was here? And he's like, mm-mm. I was like, yeah. I said, first responder. I said, what'd she look like? And he described exactly what I just told my wife. She wouldn't get out of the truck because we were in a bad neighborhood. And, so he walks over to the window and he says, hey, what did Trey say? Who had it? And T
I
to
told
the
him exactly
T.
what he told me.
He looked at me and was like, and so they got the necklace back.
Wow. All right. Are you even surprised anymore with anything that happens?
Not anymore. It freaked me out a lot in the beginning, but now it's just like, okay, because I know it's there and it comes to play, and he helps so many people.
Yeah. You said he helps so many people. There are a
Yeah.
lot of people, though, who are like, that is the devil's work, like your
Yeah.
mama was thinking, right?
Yeah. Now she still does
yeah,
sometimes,
yeah.
so. Sorry, Mom.
Yeah.
It is.
But you want people to understand that what it gives people in closure, that it has to be from another place.
Yes, yeah. And like I said, I receive my messages from God, and I'm able to help families heal. I started writing things in my book, which is right here.
Yeah, because sometimes it happens so often for you that you can dismiss what's happening and forget about it, but you have to remind yourself, no. All this has, every thought you get in your head has meaning, and this is how you connect the dots right here. We were talking about this in the green room. It happens with me a lot, and I text them to myself, because I have to remember, no, there's a message that's being delivered here. I have to understand how to connect the dots.
Yeah.
That it is.
All right.
And then, so most of this gets written in around 4 a.m. in the morning. So I don't open my eyes, I just write, and it is pretty crazy what comes.
Oh, lottery numbers. I'm going to have to write that down. No, not that easy. All right, we're going to take a break, and we're going to talk about how this show came about and how we can end up seeing that show.
Okay.
We'll be right back.